Let's move on now to this Friday's Focus Report. The city of San Francisco has set an ambitious plan for itself to reduce and recycle 100% of its waste by 2020. The goal is to avoid both landfills and incinerators that pollute and produce a lot of green gas emissions. And as a France 24 correspondent in California found out, this policy appears to already be reaping benefits.
At dawn, the cacophonous choreography of the garbage trucks begins. In San Francisco, garbage collectors like Vern are far more meticulous than anywhere else.
These are for compost right here. The green ones are for compost items, food, yard waste, like that. Any raw wood you can put in there, no paint, no nails, nothing like that. Recycling.
Here, recycling is mandatory, and if a resident makes a sorting mistake, Vern leaves a note to the owner.
If you have garbage in recycling or the green, you put a black tag on it to let them know it goes in the black cart, and you circle which one was contaminated.
Recyclable waste is then transported to this gigantic center that is powered by solar panels. Here, conveyor belts and workers sort more than 600 tons of plastic, glass, and paper every day.
Recycling creates 10 times more jobs than landfilling or incineration. The costs, the short-term costs, are similar, whether you pick it up as garbage, or you pick it up and you incinerate it, or you recycle it, or you compost it.
The compacted waste is then resold, which provides several $100,000 in revenue each year. If San Francisco is a pioneer in recycling, it is thanks to the mobilization of its 850,000 residents.
This is a compostable bag. It's made out of corn, I think, so we can use it for our compost.
In his kitchen, Mark is very cautious with his waste. He is a first-hand sorter.
How many garbage cans do you have in your kitchen?
Garbage? Only one. This one. One garbage, one basket for recyclable items, and a small bin for composting. That's all.
Thanks to a strong political will and a collective awareness, San Francisco went from recycling 40% of its waste to recycling 80% of it in a span of 10 years.
It's important because we need to diminish our footprint. It's only a matter of habit. Taking a shower and recycling are things we do on a daily basis. There's nothing exotic about it.
The success of the zero waste goal in San Francisco partly lies in its large-scale compost production.
Okay, it's still warm, it's still composting.
Here, they collect organic waste from its restaurants and residents.
You take food scraps from the city, like eggshells and orange peels and the ends of toast and chicken bones, and we turn them into this beautiful nutrient-rich compost, and then we sell it to farmers. We deliver it to local farms.
After 60 days of fermentation, this black gold, as they like to call it, is sold to local organic farmers.
Oh, this lot looks really nice. Yeah, very finely divided, and one of the important things I see very little in this lot of are plastic inclusion.
30% less expensive than pesticides, compost also helps against the severe drought in California.
1 unit of that compost will hold 8 units of water. That it feeds the biology of the soil. That biology makes the soil healthy. And subsequently, you get healthy plants that grow from that soil.
Collecting food scraps from the city to feed the soil and crops, an ecological cycle that could inspire other big cities around the world.
Well, for more on this, let's cross to my guest, Joan Mark-Simon, who's the Executive Director of Zero Waste Europe. Hello, thank you very much for being with us on France 24. If, as we've just seen, this is such a win-win solution, why isn't the whole world following San Francisco's example?
Well, San Francisco was the first one to go this way, and I think there's many municipalities around the world that are following the example. In Europe, for example, we have around 300 municipalities already that are following the example of San Francisco. So we're getting there, little by little.
And is there no downside to this?
Well, it depends what you consider downsides. It's good for the citizens, it's good for the municipalities. They will save money, they will get more recycling. Maybe the waste management companies will have less waste to manage, so that can be a downside. But I think it's good for the planet, it's good for the people.
Now, clearly, public awareness is key for this kind of project, isn't it?
Of course, yeah. Without public awareness, it would be difficult. But I would say you need public awareness, but you also need to have the right incentives to do the right thing. And that's probably what we are missing. I mean, it's probably sometimes too difficult to do the right thing.
What kind of incentives are we talking about here?
Well, for example, in San Francisco, the more waste you produce, the more you pay. Same as the more you use your phone or the more water you use, the more you would pay. So with waste, it should be something similar. Those who follow more wasteful practices should pay more than those who actually produce less waste or recycle more. That could be an incentive, for example.
And how is your organization helping with this kind of project?
Well, what we do is we work with municipalities that want to follow this path. We work with the civil society to make sure that the political will is there. And if they need also advice on how to draft these zero waste plans, what are the components of these zero waste plans, we help them and we monitor the process and we basically accompany them to get to the right results.
And so what's the next step for a city like San Francisco and others here in Europe? Does this policy need to be accompanied by a shift in consumeristic ways, degrowth, for example?
Well, for sure, we'll have to change the way we consume. And for sure, we're having today too many disposable items made of plastic or made of like toxic ingredients that are polluting not only the planet, they're also polluting ourselves. So I think the next step is actually to move into like production, to redesign things so that they don't have toxics, that they can be recycled, that they last longer, that they can be repaired. And by doing so, we will create green jobs, we will create local jobs, and we will generate less waste. So I think that's the next step to follow.
And do you think manufacturers will go for that?
I think manufacturers are already understanding that this is the way forward. This is what in the European Union is called the circular economy. So you have more and more manufacturers, more and more companies that understand that the future lies there. Actually, how do you preserve the energy and embodied materials in the products instead of like building products that are going to break or are going to like pollute the environment after like 5 minutes of having bought them. I mean, it's clearly has no economic sense. So little by little, I think manufacturers will get there.
And you said there were 300 cities across Europe who are following San Francisco's example. Are these big cities or smaller communities?
We have small cities, we have small communities, and we have big cities. We have the capital of Slovenia, Ljubljana, which is the first EU capital to adopt a zero waste goal and is the best performing EU capital today when it comes to waste management. And this is a city that joined the European Union only in 2004. We have also bigger like cities of 50,000, 100,000 inhabitants. And soon we are in negotiations to have like the big cities in Europe also joining the zero waste philosophy.
And what are the cities with who pose a real problem on the eco-friendly side in Europe?
Well, I mean, the big cities, of course, are a challenge, and especially those cities that have invested in really like big, heavy, expensive infrastructure, like such as building like very big incinerators that need to be fed for the next 20 years. These cities are a bit problematic because, of course, if you recycle more waste, what do you do with these big expensive machines you have built? So this inbuilt infrastructure, it is a problem. So Paris, for example, has a problem with that because it has, and it's continuing to build incinerators instead of investing in recycling, in separate collection, in prevention. So yeah, that is a challenge.
Jane Mark Simon, thank you very much for having spoken to us. Thank you.